Jesus. Good morning, guys. It's like 5:45 in the morning. It's raining. It's Monday. We're going to Richmond. This is why we're up so early. And we've got a bit of a special job to do today. So keep watching because I'm probably going to need your advice on this one because we're doing something we've never really done before. So let's go and pick up Shay and get to the job, get to Richmond. See you in a bit.
Why are we up this early?
We're going to Richmond.
Oh yeah.
Alright guys, so we're here at the job. Taken quite a while to get here. It's a rather arduous journey in treacherous conditions up London bound on the M3, battling the roadworks all the way up to the M25 junction. Got past that, Thorpe Park is on your left, took us up and then it brought us off the M3 and then down up to Hampton Court through the old waterworks. Done a lift at Hampton Court, Henry VIII's old house, and then we carried on up and then we crossed the Thames at Horsefair Bridge and then on into Richmond, and we're here. So yeah, it's been quite a journey and I feel like we've done a day's work already. Let's get inside and have a look what's going on. Okay, so as I said, we're doing something brand new today. Now I'll just add, this is not my job because work in my sort of area, working for local builders and stuff and directly with the client where we come from has been a bit slim pickings. We've had to kind of broaden our horizons, and we're on with another firm that does bigger stuff basically. So we're in with a team today. Now we're using this product. We came here one day last week. Let's have a look at it. It's like a lime. The customer has specified all the materials that we need to use. I'm not sure who the builder is, I haven't met him, but we're in for the firm. So basically what's gone on is this has been tacked to the walls. See, it's all eco-friendly stuff. It's this weird, just like fluffy, like cardboard stuff, and it's bolted to the walls much in the same way as some of the exterior renders go on. Then we've been putting this stuff over the top, put a thin coat on, push the mesh into it, and then let that pick up, scratch it in slightly, and then put a coat of this on. Now this has been quite a strange product to work with. It feels like the one coat render to move about, but it's got loads of lime in it. You don't want to breathe that stuff in. You can tell there's lime in there. It stains your hands. I recommend using gloves with this stuff if you've got sensitive skin. So yeah, the only thing that's been difficult with it is it picks up really, really quickly, but we've been able to knock it back just by spinning the whisk in there again, and then it picks up and we've had to do the whisk. Yeah, it's kind of tricky to work with. Deviled up, lovely though, hardly any water at all. But we're not too sure because there's still quite a bit of bounce. This was done middle of last week. Look, you still make impressions in there. It's not kind of picked up properly. I'm gonna have a look upstairs because there's some that was done previously before this. Just waiting for the other boys to turn up now. I'm gonna have a look upstairs and check how that product's gone up there. It's been done a little bit earlier, so we're gonna go and do that now. So yeah, we're upstairs now. This stuff has been done, I'm not sure when, but quite a bit earlier than what we did there last week. I can't make an indentation. Well, I can actually. There's still quite a bit of bounce to it. Like I say, I've never used this stuff before. The other guys haven't. We're just wondering if we've gone on thick enough with this floating coat. I'm waiting for some other lads just to turn up now. I think we're going to be trying to top coat this with the breathable lime plaster. So we're going to get a coat over that and I don't know, see how it goes on. So yeah, if any of you guys have used this stuff before, please do give us some comments because some hints and tips, because we're not entirely sure what we're doing, to be honest with you. It's the first time for us, so yeah, any advice would be much appreciated. So just walking around the job, and I can see another plasterer here has left a lump. It must have been here at least all weekend, and look, it's still movable. So as I said before, yeah, this went on with the mesh, then floated over the top with this undercoat, and I believe this is what we'll be using today. Never used it before. Okay, so we've been reading the bags, and apparently we've done this correctly. So this base coat needs to be 1 to 2 mil thick, which is very, very thin. We've gone much deeper than that, which might be why it's taken so long to quite dry out. And then it's saying the top coat needs to be 1 to 2 millimeters thick. 2 coats at 1 to 2 millimeters thick. So we're going to do that. We've been given our detail. I'm just following instructions here, and we're going to get this area top coated and see how we go. I haven't done much line work. I have used it before on a really old place, and what we did, we just treated it like render basically for the top coat, and we sponged it, which really muted out a lot of discrepancies, and I thought it looked good. Just reading the bag here, it says you can try and trowel it up, or you can, for a more of a textured finish, you can sponge it. So we're going to just get on. We'll start putting this stuff on, and we might try to trowel it up. It's just an experiment today, so if the troweling up doesn't look that good, then I think we might take a sponge to it, but let's see how we go, shall we? Oh, okay, I forgot to mention on the bag, prior to putting the finished stuff on, it says to wet this base coat down, ideally with a spray bottle, and luckily I've got a couple of those, so that's what we'll do. We'll wet all this dry area down. Some of it's still a bit damp, but yeah, we'll spray it up, and that apparently ensures good adhesion. Okay, so I bought one of these not so long ago for a different project. Great for doing things like render, and we got a couple of these handheld spray bottles as well. So obviously these ones, just pump them, pull the trigger, and out comes water. So I'm going to use this to give it a nice dampen. Okay, so we just give it a good dampen down with that sprayer. So it's a really good little spray because you walk it around with you, and it just delivers just enough clean water. We're not got a hose in there, and it's going on the wall and not all over the floor and all over the place, you know. And I was taking note as that water was going on, and it was starting to run down the walls, even with the mist. So I'm quite confident that this is already quite damp, and now we've dampened it down again. I'm quite confident when we put this top coat on that we've never used before, it's not going to pull in very, very quick. So I guess the next thing to do is actually get some stuff on the wall. So we just knocked up the first bag. We just did a bag. On the instructions it says 8 litres of water per one of these bags, which is I think 20 kg. So I think a regular sort of size builder's bucket is about 14 litres in there, so you're looking at about half of one of those. It took quite a bit of knocking up to get the lumps out. It says make sure you get all the visible lumps out. We've only knocked up one bag because when we did the floating coat, was knocking it up to this sort of consistency, and within a matter of minutes it was stiffening up to a workable rate. And if we knocked up too much, it was becoming unworkable, and we was having to put the whisk back in there to liven it all back up, and in another couple of minutes it was stiffening up again. So it's really a case of little and often with this stuff. So yeah, so we're just there edging on the side of caution, and we're just going to knock up a little bit, get this on the wall, and see how it goes before we start looking at you know, pushing it and getting a good amount of meterage on. Okay, so a bag has pretty much got on at a depth of 1 to 2 millimeters. This little area here, up into these corners. Like I say, it's a bit of a weird world we're in here. It's like rendering, but using multi-finish techniques. It's starting to pick up a little bit, but the packet did say, and it emphasised a couple of times, not to overwork the gear. And to leave, I think it is 60 minutes between both the coats. So that's what we'll do, I think. You see it's starting to dry out in places there. Maybe give it another wet down before, I'm not sure. I think what we're gonna do is knock up another bag and get the rest of this stuff on. But as you can see, it's gone on quite nicely. I'm using a 20-inch carbon steel trowel. We're able to like flatten in as we go. And that's because we made such a good job of the floating coat. Because you know that's what you're supposed to do. You do your floating coat so well, you want to make the setting a lot easier. So yeah, we're just going to push on with this then. So we just knocked up again. It's quite difficult stuff to knock up. If you look, it's got like the characteristics of like a floor latex. It feels very latexy. It's not behaving the same as the undercoat. It's staying live for much longer. The undercoat, if it was knocking up too much, it was going off in the bucket, and we had to get the whisk in there to liven it up, and then like a couple of minutes later it would stiffen up and we couldn't get it out of the bucket because it was knocking up too much. This hasn't done that, but it is quite difficult to knock up in the sense you think you got it stiff enough, but it takes quite a lot to get the lumps out of it, and when you get the lumps out of it, it's been spun so much it returns back to this really wet consistency. So yeah, I think there's not much point in putting any more powder in that. We'll just give it a couple of minutes and it will start to tighten up a little bit, and then it will sit there. Okay, so we've got the first coat on, look, and there's some ripples in there, and it's starting to dry up a little bit. So fortunately, I've got brand new sponge float in here, one of the thin ones from Wigs. We did the video about it earlier in the week. So just to get these ripples out on this first coat, all I'm going to do is just one of these spray bottles, just liven that very top surface up. I'm just going to give it a quick float. We don't have to worry about the flatness because we did the flatness really, really well when we did the floating coat. So all we need to really deal with is the ripples. I'm going to go and do this across all these walls, just livening up that very top surface. And this is for the first coat, so we don't need to be amazing with it. Just get that general flatness there. I'm going to go across all these walls, get it in this sort of condition, and then I'm going to turn back around and put the second coat on and see how that goes. Okay, so sponged all that first bucket we put on, and then I've come on to the area that had the second bucket that we knocked up. I'm not too happy with the way that this is behaving on this second bucket's worth because it's still too wet. I think we needed to pick up. When we're running our sponge over the gear when it's too wet, what you're doing is you're disturbing the whole body of the gear. We need that to pick up so that when we wet it up, we're not disturbing all those particles inside the whole body of the gear, and we're just disturbing the very, very, very surface. Okay, otherwise what's going to happen is we're going to end up putting more ripples in, we're going to be bringing the small particles to the top, and it's all just going to go all splodgy and horrible. So I think the proper thing to do here is just let this pick right up until it's, you know, almost looks like it's gone too far, but because it's a lime, I'm expecting it with a little bit of water, liven right back up real quick. Okay, so on the bag it said make sure you leave at least 60 minutes between the two coats. So this wall has had about an hour and 20 minutes, so we're going to get back on it. Just coming back to it, it has firmed up, and you see I'm quite pleased that we did run that sponge float over there, because not only is it taking out a lot of the ripples, it's also giving it this tiny little bit of key. Some areas were drying off a bit too much for my liking, so just prior to giving it this second coat, just giving it a light misting just on the surface there with the spray bottle again. So this is how the second coat is going on. It's going on much tighter. Yeah, it's going all right. So we're putting it on very, very tight and flattening in as we're going along. I'd probably describe it more as we're feeding this second coat into that first coat rather than putting a second coat on. It's going on that tight. But yeah, opening the shroud up, and yeah, it's going on nice and flat. Okay, so it took kind of like 2.5 bags 3 bags, maybe just shy, to get all of this on. And then we knocked up a bag and a little bit, maybe a bag and a half. And a bag and a half has got us from here for the second coat all the way around and around this corner into this internal. I kind of feel we've kind of caught up with it at the moment. This first coat here went on a little bit thicker, so it's still quite sticky. Apparently it can't be sticky to the touch for the second coat. And this one, well, it's just starting to dry out. I think we can leave it a little bit longer before we come back to it with a sponge float. Okay, so as I say, this has picked up quite a bit. So what I've done with the spray bottle, livened it up, and then with the rubber sponge float, brought it up to this sort of condition. As you feel, it's still quite wet. Now, this is the point where you need to choose what you're going to do, I think. There's multi-finish going on in here, so we might be tempted to trowel it up, but I've done a couple of bits here. I've got this old sponge, could do with a better one, to be honest with you. On here, at the top here, I've treated it like a render, so it's still quite pitted. But just gently and quite quickly after sponge floating at that as well. I feel like we could leave it a little bit longer before we get a sponge on it. And down here, if you have a look, I've taken a Rafina flexi trowel to it to see how it trowels up. And look, I mean, I think you probably could trowel it up, but it's going to take quite a bit more work. I think the sponge is going to be the way forward. Because the other guy is going to have to replicate what I'm doing here, you know, and it's always best to stay on the side of simplicity. Don't make things any harder. In the interest of getting through this job and keeping costs down, I think what they're going to have to do is going to have that general flatness, but you know, when the paint goes over that, it's going to dull that down as well, that texture. So I think that is the way to go. It's going to be much faster, much more cost efficient, and I think it's going to give adequate results for what the customer wants in here. So it's all these exterior walls have had this lime plaster on, and the interiors have been with regular gypsum plaster and sealings. Okay. So yeah, we're going to sponge it in. We're going to treat it like render. We're going to sponge it in. I think it's the quickest and easiest way to do it. And it gives pretty flat results there. Applying a little bit of water. Getting a nice flat sponge plate. Bring that up, not too much, so it's sliding on that surface. And when that's got a few moments to pick up, I'm just going to take the sponge, just give it some nice little circles, and just see that home. It's literally needing like 5-10 minutes to pick up on this case before we can get that in. It's just done that, so it's a bit too early just to get that little bit. We're just doing that bit for demonstrations. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send Shay off. We've got this wall in. I need to sponge these reveals yet. So I'm going to send Shay with the sponge float off in front of me, sponging all the walls in the uniform manner in which they went on, all the way around. And I'm just going to follow up behind him with the hand sponge and just buff that up. And that will be this area done, and I think this is exactly how we're going to treat this lime plaster for the whole duration, the rest of the job. So there we go. I kind of feel we're done with this video now. We are treating it just like render. It's coming up okay, we're keeping up with it. I said we're treating it like render, but it's not finishing as coarsely as a regular render. The sand particles are much finer. I think what we're going to do is we'll get it in, like I say, just treating it like render. Shay going off with the sponge float, sponging up in front of me. I'm coming behind with the normal car sponge. We're going to get all the way across, and when it starts to really pick up at the end of the day, I might just give it a quick dry sponge just to take any loose bits of sand off that have come to the surface, yeah, I think just give it a bit of a brush down just prior to painting, treating the internals just with a little inch brush. So yeah, there we go, that's what we're going to do on this job. So guys, thanks for watching. I'll not sure how long we're going to be here. We're going to be doing some more stuff here tomorrow, so yeah, we'll catch you on the next video, I guess. Just one little tip that seems to be working quite well. If the texture seems to be getting away from me a little bit, we've got the hand giving that a quick mist up, and then just giving it a sponge in. And that seems to be catching it really, really nicely. If it is getting away from you a little bit, because it is going off a bit sporadically, you're getting wet bits and dry bits, and that just seems to be livening that surface just up enough to really regulate what that sponge is doing. Recap what's going on just before we end the video properly. So yeah, I'm setting the shade in front of me with the sponge float and the heavy duty, sort of like the one that delivers a little bit more water. It's getting that initial liven up coat, it's going quite thick. Then we're letting that go for a little bit, and then I'm coming behind him just with a little mist there and a second sponge float over it, and then giving it a second sponge float, and then pretty much getting across the whole flank, and then I'm dropping back with virtually no water. If I need to, I'll get a little mister in my hand, but then giving it a sponge directly after that second sponge float. So a regular sponge directly after the second rubber sponge float, and that seems to be giving us pretty good flat results. Again, it's really hard to come out on the video. I've got to give this a sponge out. This bit up here I kind of sponge, so yeah, like you can see, that's the kind of texture we're getting. It's not too bad. Transparency of the wall. There we go. Alright guys, right, I reckon this is the end. Cheers guys, have a good day, see you next time.